Hey everyone, welcome again to Funkotastic Friday. It is the final festive one, and as y'all could have seen from some of the hashtags I used in my Instagram post, yes, it is another unboxing. And you know what could be better for festive times than unboxing big boxes with nice little trinkets inside, and also with festive characters inside those little boxes. Um, but yeah, if you don't follow me on Instagram yet, go and follow me there now, J-Hysteria 23. You get updates as to when I'll start posting, and then updates as to when I post the video on here on YouTube. And you can also see some past posts of for my social life and also other videos I may have done. And without further ado, let's get right to it. As you can see by the shirt, it's awesome. And I hate to do this now. It's breaking the unboxing rule when it comes to recording them. I had to open it in order to get the shirt because, I mean, just look at that. It's awesome. But yeah, the festive character I'm talking about today is Batman. Who could be more festive than Batman? Specifically from the Jim Lee collection. Basically, this is a GameStop exclusive. This box came with a pop and this shirt that I'm currently wearing. It's absolutely awesome. And just like I said, who could be more festive than Batman? So let's go ahead and get right to it. Oh wow, this is actually kind of cool. Look at that. This is specifically this is Batman from Hush, where Jim Lee had some control over the story and also the art of the tale. Like I said, GameStop exclusive, and what's really cool about this is that the pop itself is black and white, just to kind of add to the dramatics of it all. I'll get to the story in a sec. I want to go and like talk about the details of said pop because I just love how much they went into for this pop especially. Because not only did they release this Batman pop, oh man, look at that. He's on the gargoyle there, just kind of looking over the Gotham City. He's got his cape flowing, and for a comic visual representation of how it looked in the comic, it's right there on the back of the box. Pretty close, if I do say so myself. Looking good. Basically, the story is. Actually, almost forgot. Not only did they release a Batman pop, they also released a Joker pop, an Aquaman pop, because they were around the time when Jim Lee was in charge of most of the DC comics that came out. And he did some great tales. Like for this one specifically, this is from the Hush saga, which actually, before I try and like massacre the details of it all, I'm going to go ahead and just take it straight from the book. This is Batman Hush Unwrapped. Basically, it's just the same exact story that the Hush saga was, but it's all black and white and like first like rough draft drawings. And I love that. It just really shows like where they go from the beginning of the art to like the finishing that most people see in comics. So like I said, without having to massacre the story up, I'm just going ahead and read straight from the book. Basically, it takes place, let's see, I don't know the exact timeline because I've never really paid attention to this comic series, especially for the Hush saga, but basically, as far as I can tell, it does take place after they lost Robin, Jason Todd, the second Robin, after he was killed by the Joker. Much later, after the Justice League was made, and after Superman gave Batman a kryptonite ring, and he's only one of the few people he can trust with that weapon in order to beat Superman in case he ever gets brainwashed or he just goes berserk, which actually comes in handy in this story, believe it or not. But basically, it starts off, Batman is saving a kid that's been kidnapped by Killer Croc, and while everybody gave in to Killer Croc's demands to pay him the ransom in order to get the kid back, Batman didn't believe in that, so he decided to go in by himself to find the kid, save him, and get out of there. And he's going through everything. He's going through like guards. He's breaking down every form of like lock he has to go through, and he gets to the kid. And by the time they're trying to get out of there, Killer Croc appears, and him and Batman start going at it, of course. And Batman starts noticing that Killer Croc, this isn't really in his like memo. This isn't really what he does. He's not big about kidnappings, and even if it was, he would just eaten the kid by now. Very dark, I know, but that's how Killer Croc rules. And basically just moving on and through the story, and while they're in the middle of fighting, somebody sneaks in, steals the case full of money, and Batman gets the chance to get away from Killer Croc, and he finds out that it was Catwoman that stole the money. And he's surprised to see her because last time he heard she had quit all the burglaring and disappeared from Gotham City completely. So he decided to chase after her, of course, trying to get not only to get the case back, but trying to figure out why she's doing all this, because it's not her memo either. She was out of the game. She was done. And So, well, let me go and open back the book for her. Massacre it. He's chasing after her. He's firing his grappling hook, and he's right on her tail. And right as soon as he's about to catch it, somebody snaps the line to his grappling hook, which very few blades can do that, but somebody knew what to do. And so now Batman's free falling. He falls. He grabs into a gargoyle, basically destroys his shoulder, and then crashes from about 50 feet in the air, a little over 50 feet in the air, and just crash lands in the middle of a bunch of just punks and junkies that surround him. Luckily, Huntress was nearby to come in and save him, but while she was there to save him from getting beaten even more by the random thugs, he was still broken, not only with his shoulder, but his skull was fractured as well. And so after they beat everybody up, Oracle, who's like Batman's like just voice in his head, like the computer, she watches over everything, who used to be Barbara Gordon, who used to be Batgirl before the Killing Joke happened, which is another great Batman tale. And if I ever get the pop for that version of Joker, I'd be more than happy to review on that. Very dark though, so if y'all like to hear that, let me know in the comments down below. And basically they pick him up in a remote Batmobile, take him back to the Batcave, and he's under, he can't speak, he can't move whatsoever, but while Alfred's working on him, trying to see what he can do, he starts tapping his finger in Morse code in order to get a signal through. And it turns out he was typing a name, and when they figured out what name it was Thomas Elliot. And for those of you that don't know, Thomas Elliot was Bruce Wayne's childhood friend when they were both kids. They were basically kind of exactly the same. They both had very rich parents. They were both basically like the superpowers of Gotham City. Sadly, Thomas's family ended up in a car accident, and they went to Bruce Wayne's dad, Thomas Wayne, who was a very successful surgeon, and like I said, one of the superpowers of Gotham City. Like Wayne Enterprise was all over Gotham City, and while his father was able to save Thomas Elliot's mother, he wasn't able to save his father, sadly. So that ended up messing up Tommy a little bit, of course, but they also were able to invite him into their home, so now he basically kind of lived alongside with the Wayne family. He grew up with Bruce as like a brother, basically. And they were childhood best friends before, as you know, the tale of Batman, before Bruce Wayne's parents were shot down in Crime Alley, and he ended up starting his trail of becoming the Batman, traveling across the world to learn all different types of academics that were useful to him, detective skills, arts of martial arts, and just all forms of combat, really. Like, he was insane as a kid. He basically mastered near to every form of martial art by the age of 18. He started his adventures at 14. That's crazy. And while Batman's knocked out, and after Tommy conducts surgery on him and basically saves Bruce's life as they're all grown-ups now, and he basically saves Bruce's life by taking the splintered skull pieces out of Bruce's brain and giving him the ability to walk again. Bruce continues down to the city as Batman, and he finds out that Catwoman's actually under the possession of Poison Ivy. For those who don't know, Poison Ivy is a huge Batman villain, and she basically has the ability to use plants around her to kind of mind control men and women to do her bidding. And so she uses that to control Catwoman to grab the case of money, because they were all hired by the same person. Like, Batman notices that all of his past villains are coming up, and he notices that each and every one of them are doing something completely out of the memo. Like, somebody that not only knows Batman well, but knows Bruce Wayne well, knows to use these different villains against Batman in order to defeat him. And it's all kind of a game for this new villain that Batman's still trying to figure out who it is. But story continues on. Him and Catwoman decide to team up. Batman finally admits his love to Catwoman, and they have this huge kiss for the first time. It's actually a dramatic scene in the book. Let me see if I can find that panel real quick while also telling the story. Basically, continuing through the story, he interrogates Killer Croc after he's been captured and sent to Arkham Asylum, and he's trying to figure out why he did that, who hired him to do all that. And Killer Croc doesn't know who it is. He just knows that the money that he was about to get, he would be able to afford to fix himself because he's starting to mutate and become more animal than he is man, which is actually kind of sad. Oh, here he is. If y'all can see that little panel there, Batman and Catwoman. This is the first time they've kissed, and basically the first time Batman like admitted his feelings for somebody and actually meant it. Because the cool thing about Batman is that when he's Batman, he has to be this cold, hard, no crap taking, no crap taking kind of guy. And then when he's Bruce Wayne, his persona that everybody in Gotham City knows him as, he's just this like playboy billionaire that just constantly having fun and getting himself into trouble. And basically that's how they played off the whole skull fracture thing. Why Tommy Elliott, who's a famous surgeon now, all grown up, had to fix on Bruce Wayne. Like, how did Bruce Wayne end up in an accident? Basically, they covered up by saying Bruce Wayne was just drinking and he ended up in a car accident, which nearly caused some fatal injury, as you saw. But yeah, continuing on, they realized that they had to chase after Catwoman. Not after Catwoman in order to figure out where Poison Ivy went. Catwoman doesn't remember where she went. She just knows that Poison Ivy had control over her and she wants revenge, so she decides to team up with them to go find Poison Ivy. They end up going to Metropolis, the city of Superman, as you may all know. And while they're there, they almost have Poison Ivy cornered. Him and Catwoman, Batman and Catwoman have her cornered. They're about to jump her and take her in, but then out of nowhere Superman comes in, wrecks the entire building, and Batman's confused as to why he's doing it. Turns out Superman's now under Poison Ivy's control, and it's with some weird chemical that she was able to get from LexCorp, who is basically the company that's owned by Lex Luthor, sworn enemy of Superman, and Lex Luthor is now the president of the United States of America. And like I said, I didn't follow DC Comics for a while, so I'm very confused as to where he went from crazed villain billionaire to president of the free country. But I mean, hey, a lot can happen in these comics. They're continuing on. Now Batman and Catwoman are having to not only fight Poison Ivy, but having to fight Superman as well, which you can imagine is a bit of an unfair fight. And so in the middle of the fight, they're taking Superman underground because while he is under Poison Ivy's control and he can't do much to break out of it, he does still have the ability to kind of resist from having to kill anybody, because that's his one rule: he does not kill. They're running through, they're fighting, they're taking him through like tight areas to where he can't use his super abilities, because if he did, it would cause mass harm to any civilians in the area. And of course, that would drive Superman insane if he did that. And in the middle of the fight, Batman finally pulls out his trump card and he grabs the kryptonite ring and starts wailing on Superman after he's got him flashbanged and like disoriented from all of his detective and ninja tricks that he's learned over the years. And it's an intense fight. And the really cool thing about that, I would show y'all the panels in the comic, but since everything's black and white, it doesn't really like boom out as much as y'all would expect. But basically, the real cool thing about that is that, and meanwhile, while he's having his fight, he's telling a story about how the last time he was in Metropolis, for any important reason, it was because his father brought him and Tommy there as kids. I believe it was for business, or they were going to go see an opera in Metropolis. And basically, while they were there, Bruce and Tommy as kids noticed that the Green Lantern from the Justice Society of America, which was like basically the Justice League back in like when Batman and Superman were kids, so they didn't have their own thing yet. It was all Green Lantern, and it was Wildcat, Black Canary. There was a bunch of big name superheroes at the time. But they saw the Green Lantern flying through, and like the cool thing about that is basically Batman's remembering all this while he's fighting Superman with a kryptonite ring, and he feels like he's the Green Lantern, which is like his childhood hero when he was growing up. And I love that because it was kind of like showing that even Batman is a superhero nerd. and the only thing you think about while fighting the last survivor of Krypton and the most powerful being in the known universe at that time was Superman. And meanwhile he's fighting him, he's thinking about his favorite superhero and how much he's like him now. And finally, the fight starts going on for too long. Superman starts being able to resist the kryptonite ring and basically freezes Batman's hands together in order to keep him from using the ring. So Batman used Catwoman as a backup plan to drop Lois Lane off a building, to have Superman break the control that Poison Ivy had him under to save her. And while Superman didn't like that because, well, that's the love of his life, it ended up working out. Superman was freed from Poison Ivy's control. They captured Poison Ivy, and Batman explained to him, like, or Superman was asking him, why would you do that? Like, did you tell her about my parents as well? And thankfully, Batman didn't do that to reveal too much of Superman's secret identity, because at this time, while Catwoman and Batman are in love with each other, they don't know, or at least she doesn't know who Batman is still. She just thinks he's another guy. She doesn't know that he's one of her good friends, Bruce Wayne, in the community. And they're continuing on. Next, let's see. Bruce and Tommy end up going to an opera just to kind of keep Bruce's persona in the public eye still normal. Nobody's wondering whatever happened to him. And just to think, like, wow, he's really quick at recovering from his fatal injury. And turns out, at this opera, not only is Tommy and Selena there, but also Harley Quinn decides to crash the party. And all this, again, like Batman notices, is a little bit too well choreographed, especially for Harley Quinn. And, oh man, it just gets crazy, but basically the whole story is Batman is continuously fighting through the streets of Gotham City against near to all of his enemies, and he doesn't know why. He doesn't know why they're all acting differently. He doesn't know who has them under, like, their control, basically. But, like, not only does he go through Killer Croc, Catwoman, Poison Ivy, and Superman isn't a bad guy, but basically there was one point when Superman and Batman butted heads a lot, so they would fight a lot. So this was kind of like a dramatic moment to see them fight again after so much they've been through. But yeah, Superman, now Harley Quinn, and it just gets more and more insane. And while I hate spoiling stuff, but I've already gone through like the first 3 or 4 chapters of the Hush saga, I do highly recommend reading it yourself because it gets more intense. I don't want to reveal who the main villain is in the end, who choreographed all this, how many more villains were included, but just remember that how GameStop and Jim Lee released this like special edition of like this Batman pop, which also have the other version of like the regular colored version, not the black and white edition. Basically, they also have a Joker pop, so Joker makes an appearance in this story. So I definitely recommend just to read that part. It gets really crazy there because this this is like one of many stories where Batman nearly snaps and breaks his one rule of no killing his villains and putting injustice the hard way because it's the right way. And I tell you, it gets crazy. I was worried that Batman's actually about to break the rule. Oh man. But yeah, that's basically it about this pop and the story that it follows. Once again, if you want to read and finish and find out who the real villain, the villain behind the curtain that is controlling all this, the puppet master, if you will, controlling all this, please go read it. It's Batman Hush. If y'all want this edition where it's all kind of like the rough draft drawings from Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee, I found it at my local bookstore, which was the Books A Million, so you can probably find this anywhere that they sell comic books. If you can't find it there, always online shopping. But for this sweet shirt and pop combo, you can go to GameStop. It is exclusive. This is not a sponsored video. Should have said that at the beginning. But yeah, no. Thankfully, my GameStop is pretty like up to date when it comes to like new pops or new merchandise. So I'm constantly in there checking it out, seeing like what y'all got today. Thankfully, they had a shirt in my size inside this box. But yeah, for anyone who's wondering why I did a Batman unboxing for Festive Funkotastic Friday, what could be more festive than a black and white Batman? I mean, he smiles all the time, sometimes, and what could be more colorful than black and white? It's still not boxing, so technically it's still festive, But yeah, thanks again for joining me. I hope y'all enjoyed. If y'all want, be sure to leave a like and comment, and be sure to subscribe as well, just to be able to catch more notifications about when I post my next video, which will be continuously on Fridays. I'm changing it up a little again. Instead of just doing it at 8 o'clock every Friday, I'm trying to do it at any point during Friday because work and other scheduling issues come through, and it just gets difficult to post these videos at the right time based on like which area I'm in. But yeah, stay tuned for more. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do for January. Probably just gonna get back to the regular Funkotastic Fridays reviews. We'll see though. We shall see. And once again, if you haven't started following me yet, go follow me on Instagram at J-Hysteria23 to get notifications as to when I'll be updating or I'll be posting a video and when I post a video, and also kind of see past posts of like social life or random pops that I may have done reviews on in the past. But yeah, thanks again. I'll be seeing y'all next time.